Ralph and I were out yesterday. We had to go to a store, and I brought up Gary's name, and he goes, "I hate him, and I know Gary hates Ralph."
Yeah, what is going on with them?
I don't know, but they've tried to get along, but everyone gets into fights with Ralph. What is it? I've been trying to get Ralph on the phone or something.
That was instant yesterday.
Yeah, but what is it, Stuttering John?
That fight, but
what happened?
They were fighting because me and Robin, Ralph, and my fiance came together to the screening.
Yeah,
and then Ralph tried to save.
Hold on.
Wait, we get Ralph on the phone because Ralph said, "Hey, if you're going to talk about this,
you know what, something, Howard?
I know you're. He
is
really is mad.
A major jackass. And you could line up people from here to eternity.
That's what I've been saying. You know, I don't have a problem with Ralph. Seriously, let me just say something. I don't have a problem with Ralph, right? But everyone is complaining.
I've never complained about Ralph.
Right, you like him, right?
Bother me. I like Ralph.
But Ralph wouldn't bother you.
Yeah, because he's afraid to bother you.
He's afraid of you.
And you don't have to work with him.
You and Howard are the only two people in the world he's not afraid of. Other than that, he is not afraid to impose or just be a jackass to anyone else.
Because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this.
I
publicist
left.
for your movie.
Yeah.
You're a limo driver.
Right.
Anybody on the E crew. Anybody on my crew.
Really?
Eventually, he is so abrasive. Eventually, he's going to rub them the wrong way.
And I keep saying to him, "What do you do wrong?" He goes, "I swear to you, I don't know." Because I see him at photo shoots and stuff. He behaves. He seems to. And then after the photo shoot, they hate him.
I'm telling you, whenever Ralph's with me, he's fine. I leave the room. I come back. He's already had a fight, and it's over by the time I get back.
Our argument the other night.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, this started a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
He blows into the office and starts ordering the interns. He wants the interns to go bring something back to Barney's that belongs to you.
Right.
And I said that, listen, I've got interns here, but that's not really their job. That's what you allegedly get paid to do.
Right.
So he says, well, I don't have time. I have to go to Howard's house and do something. Well, P.S., 2 hours later, he's just hanging around the office doing nothing.
Right.
So he could have brought it back, but he didn't because he's Ralph, and Ralph doesn't go to Barney's to return stuff.
Right.
So then a couple of weeks later, at the screening the other night, I put this whole screening together. You know,
Right. It was a screening for the people in the movie.
The truth is,
you know,
it was a screening for Robin, Jackie, Fred, myself, and John.
Right.
Everyone else that got invited was because we wanted to have more people there, but it was really for us to just see it.
Right.
So I was very nervous because I wanted everybody. We had packed the house. There were 70 seats.
Right.
We invited 69 people.
Right.
So I asked them to tape off 2 rows because I was afraid that like Robin might get there a little late,
Right.
or the owner of the company might get there a little late, and I didn't want them to not have good
Right,
seats.
and the point was that you could have had an empty screening, and just for
Right.
the 5 of you, and you were saying, "Hey, we're screening off, we're taping off 2 rows so that these people could see the film."
So Jackie, Fred, myself, and Tom, and all our wives were at dinner. I left early because I wanted to get to the screening room to
Good.
make sure. I wanted this to go perfect. I didn't want anybody to walk in.
Right,
and
you want to
this.
have an enjoyable experience. After all, everyone is excited.
So I know Jackie and Fred and everybody are on their way, and I know I got these rows taped off. So then I see Ralph.
Well, where is Ralph? Is he on the phone or no?
I tried. He I tell him all the time. His answer machine picks up.
Yeah, he
can't
turns
get
over.
through.
All right. That's
So-
another annoying thing.
So I get there, and Ralph's already like behind the tape. He's decided that he belongs being in there, which is fine. That's okay.
Okay.
I had gone in there.
So he's sitting in the taped off section.
Well, he's walking around it. He's socializing.
Scoping it out, yeah.
So Stuttering John's girlfriend is sitting there. So I decide that my wife and I are going to sit next to Stuttering John. So I leave a seat empty, and I take my jacket and I put it on the seat. I don't
Good.
drape it over the seat. I put it like on the seat,
Right.
like this is where I will be sitting.
Right.
I walk away for 2 minutes. My jacket is thrown like 8 seats down. My wallet's like hanging out of it because my wallet's inside it. He just
Right.
like must have taken it and tossed it.
Right.
So I said, Ralph, what are you doing? I'm going to sit here. And he goes, the seats are for Robin. I said, Robin is...
Right.
I
But
see
now
her-
he's now Robin's representative.
Right. I saw Robin was like in the back row where there were actually bigger, nicer seats, and Robin didn't appear to have a problem with seating. It looked like you were going to sit somewhere. But Ralph has now decided he's going to... And it's Howard, it's a completely...
And who
empty-
made him Robin's representative?
Nobody
completely
ever talked to me
Wait,
about this.
Right.
It's a completely empty row.
Right.
So
He's gonna assert
the only
himself
people
now.
sitting in the row are my jacket and John's girlfriend.
Right.
But he decides that where my jacket is where he needs to sit.
Right.
So I said, what are you doing? So then he starts to give me a hard time. I said, Ralph, just calm down. He goes, what are you going to be like that for, man? I said, hey, who invited you behind the velvet ropes? Get out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you shouldn't even be here.
Right.
So then he
feels
starts
he's
really
entitled
getting
to be,
mad. Now
yeah.
he's like yelling at me. He's like, you're an a-hole, man. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I can't believe like this is going to be the most exciting night for me.
Right.
And I'm arguing with Ralph over where I can sit.
Right.
So this goes on, and we had a really big argument. We called each other a lot of names,
Right.
and I really wanted to hit him for
Right.
the first time ever.
Right.
So he walks away, and he tells me that I'm on a power trip, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking to myself...
This is all going on right in the theater.
Everybody's
And I'm
trying
thinking-
to get into
Did anybody get it on
People are
film? Yeah, right.
So I'm thinking to
Good.
myself, I always hate, like, I don't want to come across as one of those people who's on a power trip, and I always, whenever anybody says that to me...
You don't sound like you were on a power
I
trip.
want to, like, I take a step back and I say to myself, now, was I just wrong? Was I inappropriate? And at that exact moment, while I'm thinking that, Scott Einziger, who was sitting right in front of the whole thing, goes... I just heard the whole thing, and I cannot believe you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Which I want Ralph to hear this
See,
because
the only misunderstanding is that Ralph came with me and Robin, and he just assumed that we would all sit together.
yeah, but there's an attitude you can have. You can be cooperative and see that
you
someone's
say,
code is there.
Hey, whose code is this? Gary,
Right.
I came with John. Do you mind if I sit with you guys? And I said, yeah, I'll move it down a couple
Right,
seats.
right.
But it's
It
like,
could have.
But
it's
throwing
attitude.
the code.
It's attitude.
I didn't know. He threw the code.
See, now he says he claims that he has a whole other side to this story, but
I couldn't even get him to talk about it that night. I mean, he was just cursing and fuming when I walked back in. I was like, what is going on? He goes, Gary's such a dick, and that's all I could get out of it.
Ralph is. We've all decided this. A bunch of us were discussing him the other day. Ralph is on a star trip, but he's not a star.
right.
He's on a star trip. He wants first-class treatment. He wants to go to the front of the line wherever he goes. He wants to be treated like a god.
Right.
He has spent way too much time hanging around with you.
Right.
He wants treatment that even sometimes you don't even get.
Right. Well, all right.
I think what happens is when he's with you, all of that stuff is happening, and he doesn't
Yes.
understand why it's not happening.
Why does
when
it
he's
stop
not with
happening?
you.
Right. Why does it stop happening? You got to get him on the phone.
I just talking about it makes my blood boil. But I was so angry at him.
Right.
And then like a half an hour later, my wife's going, "You were really good in the movie. I'm so proud of you." And I'm just going, "I hate Ralph. I
Right.
can't believe he did that to me."
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
ruined my night.
He ruined your night.
He really did.
Yeah, and then Ralph tells me he couldn't even watch the movie because he was freaking out so
Are
much.
you kidding?
Yeah. He has to see it again because
Jeez.
he was so annoyed by Gary. But I said, Ralph, you get into these things way too much with everybody.
Well, that's the one thing. The common denominator is everybody's
Ralph.
fighting with Ralph.
Ralph.
And
It's
Ralph
always
doesn't understand. Like Ralph never stopped to think for one moment that he was a guest at that screening.
Right.
In Ralph's mind, that screening was for him.
Right.
He should have said to himself, "Hey, all right, man, if you want to sit there, I'll move." Or he never stops to explain anything.
Right.
And he shouldn't even be where he is half the time.
Oh, here's Ralph. Ralph.
Gary, man, you are such a fucking...
Whoa. You cannot use the F... Gary, Ralph, you can't use the F word on the air. Get your head together.
Yeah, you jerk.
What's the matter with you? You can't do that.
It's your friend.
Calm down.
And Ralph, of course, I'm the only one who
Gary,
thinks you're a
Gary,
Of course, I'm the only one who thinks you're a jerk.
Gary, see,
The line of people.
Wait,
who think you're an
why don't you
idiot.
let Ralph explain his side?
why
He
don't
doesn't
you
want
shut
to-
up for 2 minutes?
Well, why don't you explain yourself, you moron?
I don't have to explain myself to you.
Of course you don't, because you're Ralph. You're Ralph the God.
Yeah, right. That's it, Gary.
Well,
Ralph.
explain
so
what happened.
jealous, Gary.
Ralph, what-
Why don't you just
Jealous
get
of
over
what?
it already? You're such a little baby.
Oh yeah, I'm a baby.
Yeah, Gary, you
Ralph, don't you realize the
you could
entire
really- you could-
world hates you? You realize you're hated by all.
Hello?
Did he hang up?
Yeah.
What's wrong with him?
Ralph is a big pussy.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I told you, these two guys went at it the other night. And Ralph yesterday was just screaming the whole time about Gary.
Anything that Ralph attends, any meeting that he attends, it's just trouble.
Wow.
Howard,
Who knew?
Howard, if it were just he and I fighting,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You might think that there's a personality conflict, which, by the way, there is.
Right.
But if it were just he and I fighting, you might.
Well, you guys were getting along for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, when Ralph
like
makes
a truce,
you know
though.
what happens? Ralph makes an effort to be a human, and
Right.
everybody talks about this. Ralph really, the truth of the matter is, Ralph. There's a good guy hiding underneath all that. He
Right.
really is a good guy.
I
He
have a great relationship
and
with
for the
him.
most part, he wants to be okay. But it's almost like it's like a disease. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He can't help himself.
Right.
You know, sooner or later, he's going to do something to make the other shoe drop
Sheesh.
I would have liked to have heard Ralph's side of it.
Why won't he come on the phone?
because he can't use the F word.
Yeah, he had to open up with the F word.
Where is he?
Sounds like there's a lot of witnesses against him.
But it's not even just this. We're not
No, here's
talking
Ralph.
about the coke
Here is Ralph.
incident.
All right, Ralph, calm down.
I won't say a word.
Don't. All right,
Yeah,
good.
let
Let
him
Ralph
tell
have his
his
side of
side.
the story. Hi, Ralph.
I just hiding underneath all what, Gary? Why do you have it? You've had it in for me since day one. I have tried with you to get along.
Can I explain to you why I've had it in?
I have made more of an effort with you in my life than I ever have with anybody to get along.
I explain why I had it
And
in for you
you still
since-
don't accept it.
Can I explain it?
Yeah.
Because from day one, you walked in like you owned the station. You wanted to be the producer of the show. You never listened to anybody. When you first started working with us on the E! Show, you would like walk in. You would be in the studio when you weren't supposed to be in there. I'm not talking about on-air stuff. I'm talking about like I have to talk to Howard during the breaks because that's my only chance to tell him what's going on. And you would be in there. You would interrupt. You felt that suddenly you playing with Howard Taylor was more important than me producing the show.
In other words,
And you were in
Gary
my
has to
way.
be respected as the producer.
No, Gary, I never
And-
I never made that determination. I mean, I might have an agenda and go forward with it, but that's not being
Okay, so you weren't able
disrespectful
to you weren't able to recognize that you were getting in the way, and then when I
Okay,
told you, you felt like I had a
Does that make me a terrible person?
No, makes you terrible
like shit for the rest of my life.
No,
Well,
makes you
wait.
terrible
Did you say the S word?
What is
Ralph.
Problem today.
Hold on a second. I got to stop you guys. Ralph, did you just say the S word?
Yes.
Calm down.
No, it doesn't make you a terrible person that you have your own agenda. It makes you a terrible person when you have this agenda and then somebody tries to get you to recognize that maybe you got to change things, and you become so resistant.
Now, Ralph,
and
what
so
happened?
abrasive.
What happened the other night at the screening?
What happened? I'm getting
Smoking.
Gary, you got me sick because I've been so upset about
Oh, yeah,
this
I
the
got you
last 2
sick.
days.
Did you get Ralph sick?
Yeah, and I was working on it.
What, you got a voodoo doll?
Yeah.
Are you smoking weed?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can't even explain that now because I'm just so pissed off.
Well, calm down and try.
I walked in. I don't know what Gary's got, what Gary's agenda is, and his whole setup over there. I walk in there. Okay, all right. Let me start. I'll start from there. I walk in. I'm just walking around talking to people. Hold on a minute.
All right.
Hold
Just
on.
ignore them.
He's got to go see who's on call waiting while we're talking to him.
Oh, how annoying.
Who was that?
I don't know.
His boyfriend?
Just hung up on him.
More or less annoying than you.
Okay.
All right, so you walk in.
There's two. There's a.
See, I'm
couple
trying to
rows
help
that are-
you because people find you annoying. I'm trying to help you.
Okay. I'm trying to talk here.
Do you understand anything of what Gary said that he found annoying?
Yes, I do.
All right. Okay, go ahead. So you weren't aware of his agenda. You walk in.
Okay, I walk in.
You're looking for seats.
I'm waiting for Robin's chatting. I came in with John and Susanna and Robin. We all had dinner. We were hanging out together. So John and Susanna go sit down, and I'm waiting for Robin. Polite thing to do. We came together. I thought we'd sit and watch the movie together. So there's a couple rows that are taped off. And I'm standing there. I'm talking to Don. I'm talking to some other people. Don goes to me, "Go sit down there," and he says, "Go behind the tape and sit in that row." Or one of the, there were like 2 rows taped off. I don't know exactly which row it was.
Okay.
I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm just waiting for Robin." So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for Robin. She's chatting away, and John and Suzanne are sitting there, and Scott Einziger and all those people sitting over there. So I wanted to go say hi. So I go over the velvet ropes. Meanwhile, it's a piece of stupid masking tape, and Gary's yelling,
Joke, you
"Velvet
idiot."
ropes!"
Velvet rope.
It's a
What's
joke.
the velvet masking tape? So I hop over it and go talk to John and Susanna for a minute. And there's a jacket sitting next to him. Now,
Is it sitting next to him, or is it on the? Wait a second. Is it
where
on?
You're a liar, Gary.
Is it on the chair? Is it on the chair? Is it very obvious that someone's sitting there?
Yeah, and I
Is it
moved-
very obvious?
And I moved it over.
Did you ask
one
any?
seat.
No, you moved over
No,
3 seats. Did you
No,
ever?
No, I didn't,
Okay,
Gary.
Ralph, move it over a quarter of an.
interrupt me?
Move it over a quarter of an
Can you
inch.
shut up?
No.
Can you shut
Did
up?
you ever
Well, let
stop?
Ralph explain.
No,
Wait
no.
a minute, you
shut up.
had your say.
Shut
Let
up
Ralph
means that you
has
put those
his
big
say.
fucking lips.
Oh, wait a second.
what?
Hey,
You're
don't use the F word.
You're so
Are you going to use the
retarded.
F word? Can you not use the F word?
I'm trying.
You were making a
illiterate.
point, and then you exactly.
You're so illiterate. You're so not so bright that you can't use another word besides the F word.
I guess I'm stupid, Gary, just like you.
Yeah. Well, we're both stupid, except I'm here and you're not. You.
All right. All right.
Well, you know what? I'm not here either.
Oh, here he goes again.
He's so bright.
I'm never going to
Such a
understand
bright
what
guy.
happened the other night.
Ralph was starting to explain himself, but
I could be as mad as Ralph and not use the F word. Right? I can do it, but he can't. He can't pull that off.
You conducted yourself properly. Well, then you win the argument.
He was
Gary's
almost
on
making
pretty
a
firm
point.
ground. Howard.
Ralph was almost making a point.
He was about to make a
He
point.
was almost making a point.
But he
Even if it
wasn't,
was
Howard.
no, of course
No.
not. But,
If you went to a movie theater and there was a coat sitting there,
right.
would you just pick up the coat and move it?
No, but
What
I
if it was
wanted
a
to hear.
10-foot-10
Maybe
guy?
that's why he hung up. Maybe that's why he hung up.
Yeah, because
Maybe.
Gary's on
But
pretty solid
the
ground.
thing I was saying was, Gary said it was 8 rows away. Now it's only 3
No,
seats.
he threw it like 3 seats away. I didn't say it was 8 rows.
No, you said 8. You said 8 seats.
No, I said
say 8.
oh.
You said 8 seats. All right.
He
In
threw-
the throes of arguing, you said 8. So whatever. Even if it was 1 seat, somebody had reserved a seat.
Yes.
And it was
But
thrown
you
in
know
a way.
what?
It was.
I would
thrown
have.
in a
I would have
way-
liked to have
He
finished the
could
story.
have-
Oh wait, here's Ralph again. He's
Okay.
back. What are you going to do? You keep hanging up like a girl? Hello?
Howard?
Hello?
Hello?
I don't know.
Howard, he's not there. He's not picking up. Hello, Howard?
Hello?
Howard?
Yeah?
He's not picking up.
All right, well, I don't care. I want to call him.
He's pouting.
He's pouting.
He's having a hissy fit.
Get over it.
What the heck is wrong with him? This couldn't be that big a deal.
Well,
I don't even-
evidently there's something he can't explain.
I care less about this argument, about winning this argument, more about how Ralph's going to explain why everyone else has a problem with him.
Well, we were getting to that. He hung up.
Oh my goodness.
Should I be afraid? Will Ralph come here and punch me?
No, you could kick his ass.
I probably couldn't, but let me tell you something.
You don't think you could beat him up?
Ralph has admitted
It's
he's
hard to
not a
tell.
fighter.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, but you're a wrestler. You're a wrestler.
You're going to wrestle the guy? Boys punching in the teeth?
No, but you're a good fighter. I've seen you fight.
I'm sure you could take him.
You're not a pussy.
I wonder how he fights, but I'd be willing to fight him in some sort
John
of...
kicked his ass.
Did he?
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Are you going to calm down now?
Yes.
He's back. You think you could beat Gary in a fight?
At that movie screen, I could have.
No, because I was just as angry.
No, I think I would have punched you right in the head, and you would
I
have
think I
gone
would
right
have punched
down.
you right back. Oh,
Well, you know what? You are really fat, so you probably would have absorbed most of the punch.
that's right.
All right, anyway, so go ahead. So you see this coat.
And you move it over.
I move it over one seat.
Hey, by the way, anybody want to bet Ralph hangs up again before this conversation's over? I say he will.
$10 says he is.
I say yes too. So
Can I get some of that action? I'll bet 50 I hang up in about 2 minutes.
I know you're going to hang up.
I don't bet any.
Yeah, because we'll get through this, and then when you explain why everyone else hates you, you'll hang up.
That's going to be the tough question.
Right, that's
All
going to
right,
be the tough
so
one.
let's go on with this story. You moved
Go
it
ahead.
over the 1 seat, 3 seats, whatever.
There's a coat. There's a coat, and there's an empty seat next to Susanna, and then there's a coat.
Go ahead. Let me think about that. There's an empty seat next to Susanna, and then there's a coat.
on
Okay.
the seat next to her. So I move the coat over one seat. One seat.
Three, but okay. But three.
One seat.
Three.
There. And then I sit down kind of like on the armrest, and I'm talking to Robin, Radzinski, and Scott, and all the people who are sitting in the row. I'm just saying hi to everybody and chatting. Gary comes running over. And then starts yelling. I don't even remember.
I said, Ralph,
exactly
why'd you move my coat? And then he immediately comes back with something that, like,
No.
how dare I ask him what he's doing?
No,
hey,
you
man,
gave
I'm
me
just
the-
moving it, man.
You gave me the attitude like, how dare I sit down there? Who asked you to sit behind the velvet rope?
No, I asked you why you moved my coat.
Because-
And why did you? Why would you, if you would have asked Susanna, she would have said, oh, Gary's sitting here. But you never bothered to ask because you're so selfish. You just don't care. Where you need to sit is where you need to sit.
No. I just moved the coat.
Did you ask?
I just moved the coat over.
Didn't you wonder who it belonged to?
Gary, when you came over, was I sitting,
Ralph, did you wonder who it belonged to?
When you moved it, when you came over, was I sitting in a seat, or did I just have my ass on an armrest?
Did you ask on an armrest and you moved it over like you and Robin were going to sit there, and you even said as much?
Like me and Robin were gonna
did
sit
you
there?
ever ask who the coat belonged to? Did you ever think that somebody was already sitting there? Did it ever dawn on you? You're so selfish.
That's not being selfish. I just moved the coat over one seat. What's the big deal?
Because that's what you needed to do. That's
Because
what
Gary,
it's a big. It's no big deal to you because you'll end up where you want to be. It's a big deal to me because that's where I wanted to be.
You don't understand.
You don't understand anything. You have no manners.
Who are you siding with on this, Jackie?
It sounds. I'm not trying to take sides. It just sounds like Ralph's wrong here. Because Gary had put his coat down to sit there, and so he.
And also it's
claimed
kinda-
that
it's
seat.
like you
And
shouldn't
he wanted
assume
to
that
sit
you-
with Susanna and John. And,
Oh, yeah.
And when you see some tape, maybe you shouldn't just cross over.
Howard, all you got to do is
It's
say,
got nothing
hey,
really to do with the section that's
Gary,
going
So wait a
on.
minute. So if Ralph had, let me ask you something, Ralph.
Gary.
So when Gary comes up to you and starts screaming about his coat and stuff,
He immediately puts me on the defensive.
Would you ever say,
If he
I'm
would've just
sorry.
come up-
would you
Gary,
ever say to him, hey, I wasn't thinking.
I didn't know
realize-
you- I didn't know
you were sitting here. Would it be all right if?
If he would treat me with an ounce of friggin' respect and just say to me, "Hey, I was going to sit there."
I did say I was
You
gonna sit
on
there, and he
the
came
other
back with
side,
some
or
wise-ass
I was
response.
saving these. If you could be.
What happened? You said to him,
I said, hey, I was sitting there, and he came back with like some wise-ass response.
I didn't see you sitting there. I see a coat there.
Yeah, duh. Don't you wonder who it belongs to? Let me tell you something. If that were Howard's coat, you'd be groveling like a pussy right now. Because it's my coat, you don't care.
Ralph, people show up in a movie. You put your coat down, you
Gary,
stand up to
always have
talk, or
make-
go to the
you always
bathroom.
have to
That's
make-
normal.
Gary, you always have to make that comparison, and that's
Well, that's
the
right,
problem.
because you have no respect for anyone but Howard.
That is not true.
Well, then why don't we ask everybody else that thinks that? Publicist for the movie, Howard's limo driver,
speaking of-
everybody that
well,
works
hold
on
on.
E. Let's get online.
Ronnie did
Hold on.
say he has no problem with Ralph anymore.
Yo, well,
Yeah.
Since when?
I don't know. Recently,
your publisher just
That's just
called.
yesterday.
yeah.
What?
Your publisher just called to leave a message for Gary, and I said, "Are you listening to this?" And he goes, "Ooh, I'm loving every minute of it."
Really?
I said, "Do you want to come on the air?" He goes,
No, that would not
"I'm
be
a
appropriate.
private guy."
That would
He goes,
not
"I'm
be.
a
That would be
private guy."
inappropriate. This is
He
between
goes-
Gary and Ralph.
Yeah, that
but
would be
he
real
said that
inappropriate because
he's-
we'd have a real big problem then.
He goes, he said that he is the sand in his Vaseline.
Yeah, what's he doing with the Vaseline? I
Oh,
wonder.
please.
No, but
This is
Ralph,
absurd.
I mean, let's go back seriously. take it back a step. Let's go back to
that
when we
mean?
met you at Channel 9, right?
Go ahead.
You and Dan couldn't get along well.
Gary, let's not. Let's discuss this incident.
But what is
Well, okay,
Gary's
let's go-
point?
let's
Are
go
you
back-
saying that Dan and
Let-
Ralph didn't get along?
Let's go back to the incident. The
He's
incident
saying
is
from
I'm
day
not-
one, Ralph
who are you
hasn't gotten along with
claiming?
anybody.
Gary.
Who are you claiming that Ralph doesn't get along with?
sooner
Gary.
or later he's had a run-in with everybody.
Gary.
Maybe people like Dan. I'm sure likes him now, but sooner or later he's had a run-in
hang
with
up
everyone
pretty
since.
soon.
Good.
Stop it.
Oh, curse.
I'm still standing here.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Hang up.
The point is, let's get back to this other thing.
Okay, so Ralph,
Are you
simple question.
accusing? Are you accusing? Let him say something. Are you accusing Ralph of being a listener gone wild?
No, we've said that in private.
Ralph, go ahead. Make your point.
No, but Ralph, here's a simple
let him-
question. I want to ask you a simple question because he asked me one. The question is, did it ever dawn on you to ask who the coat belonged to, out of courtesy?
Ralph.
The silence is deafening.
I didn't really think about it.
And you don't think that was wrong?
No.
Let me ask a question.
I just moved it over, Gary.
I think that shows a lack of manners, Howard. No matter who's doing it, and no matter whose coat it is.
No, actually,
Here's where I think this is where you guys go wrong, and I'm gonna. This is where you guys go wrong. Listen to me, Ralph. Listen to me.
No, wait. Listen to me for a minute.
Wait, let me ask
Gary,
one question.
Let Ralph say something,
Gary,
and you'll go.
You had just Gary. If you just walked over you came screaming over at me with an attitude right away, and
you just totally disregarded what we just spoke about.
What do you think? I'm going to not get defensive? And
You just
upset?
totally disregarded what we spoke about. There would be no need to run over and no need for any defensive if
Gary,
you behaved with manners.
Gary, if
you don't have them.
If it was anyone else, you would have said, "Hey, I was sitting there," or "That's where I wanted to sit. Can you sit over a seat?" But you were like, "You piece of crap! Get out of here! You don't."
Yeah,
belong
that's what
here.
I said.
You're not
That's
part
what
of
I
me."
said.
And the
What did
other
you say
thing
to
was-
him?
I didn't say anything like that. I said, "Why did you move my coat?"
You
He
said,
immediately
"You're not
came back
part-
with some wise ass
you said, "You're not
response,
part of
and
the
then I
show.
attacked
You
him
don't
after
belong
that.
Here. Get out. You said you're not part of the show. You don't belong.
I didn't say
Get
you're not
out.
part of the show. I said you don't belong in these 2 rows because you were giving me a hard time, and I decided that I didn't need to argue with you on an important night in my life.
I didn't realize you were producing the seating. If somebody had told me that, I would have checked.
What
with
he's
you.
saying is that
I would have checked with you, Gary, to see where I could sit.
what he's saying.
I don't
is,
care where you sit. I'm just saying have some manners about it.
And you're so stupid. You picked the worst rows. The best seats were in the back where me and Robin ended up sitting anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Because the whole theater is 20 feet long, Ralph. I had
right,
awful
so what's
seats.
the big deal? Why do you have
really
to?
relevant.
Why do you have to separate people? Why do you have to make that distinction?
It's not about
You're the one
separation.
who's
You're
Gary,
missing the point.
That's
You're the one who always-
Ralph.
You're missing the point. It's not about separation. It's about where I was sitting.
Ralph, that's where you go wrong. Ralph, that's where you go wrong.
Push it on me because that's how you are.
Ralph, you're off base.
I'm not.
It was his screening. He invited who he wanted to.
I didn't know that.
Forget that he
But
doesn't
why
know
can't he
that.
make that distinction?
Forget that Ralph doesn't know that.
Why
don't know
do you
that.
analyze that?
Gary didn't call and invite me. How do I know this?
The point is that if there's a sectioned off area, you ask first, am I supposed to be
Well,
in the
he
sectioned off
claims
area?
that he
Don
was
told me
sent
to go
there.
sit there.
I don't
me ask one
Howard,
question.
You don't
I
have a
even
problem
care
with that.
about that.
Right. You're saying there were 2 empty rows. Why do you have to move my seat?
Howard, there was a whole row. If Ralph had sat down in that row, I would have never blinked an eyelash.
Gary, one
Never.
seat I
You know
moved it
what this
over.
is?
What?
This is a bunch of misunderstandings, and neither one of them knows how to communicate.
And I'll tell you why.
It's
No, wait a
not a
second. I'll tell you why.
misunderstanding.
I'll tell you what it is. It's a culmination. It's a,
And
That
John
too.
Isaac's a jerk off because that's not. He
It's a way to conduct
Gary, he said
yourself.
Something else to me.
Ralph, anybody that doesn't agree with you is a jerk off.
That's right.
When have you
You're
ever,
the biggest jerk
Ralph?
off.
Of all the confrontations you've ever had, when have you ever once admitted that you might have been wrong?
never.
I'll think about
Hold
it.
on a second.
Wait, here's
Ralph,
Scott Einziger. He was there.
Let me ask one thing.
Einziger, what happened
What
that night?
happened?
Straighten this out for me. I'm trying to. I know Ralph has
First of all,
personality
Ralph-
conflicts. I'm trying to help him with it.
Ralph, don't call me a jerk off, man.
Well, why do you tell Gary one thing and then me something
Well,
else?
Actually, that's not what I said to Gary. First of all, that was
Scott Einziger, the producer of the E! Show, who happened to be an eyewitness to this.
First of all, it was an incredibly uncomfortable moment.
Go ahead.
Basically, what Gary described is correct. I guess Ralph moved a jacket. Ralph, you were sitting on the arm of the chair, and Gary questioned why Ralph was there.
How did he question him? What did he say?
It was basically like.
Did he walk over in a
Did
huff?
he have an attitude? Was he
well,
rough?
I will admit I
Gary-
walked over angry. There's no doubt
Gary
about
was
that.
angry, but I think that's based upon their history that they don't like each other.
right. And that's what's causing the problem.
And that's what I said to Gary, and I told you, Ralph, that you guys have so much baggage between each other. This was just
that it became one more incident.
This is just more fuel.
yeah. So Gary was in a in a position of power right there because
Right.
Gary did set this whole thing up,
Right.
and it was really intense. Ralph wasn't really sure what to do. But in that case, I think Ralph decided it was better to retreat, but was super angry to the point where I thought these guys were going to go at it for a moment.
Over a stupid chair.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not over a stupid chair.
In a 20-seat
it's not over.
theater.
And
Come on, guys.
Robert, but you can obviously see that that's not what it's about. It's not about a chair.
Yes, but that's what you were talking about.
No,
See?
it's about a lack of. It's about a lack of respect.
Scott's right.
Excuse me. Wait a minute.
No.
What they were talking about was a chair. They made it about their entire relationship.
Yes.
I still hold, Howard. I still hold fast
Gary
to the
did
very.
that, Robin.
I still hold fast to the
very simple
fact
premise that you had a coat on a chair that
and
you
you
moved.
ask somebody. You just
Right.
ask somebody.
It's a
just-
courtesy.
It's a courtesy.
If Ralph went
So
to a
if
movie
you find
somewhere,
that
he wouldn't
Ralph
do that.
is discourteous, and he's discourteous all the time. It really has nothing to do with you.
Right.
He just is a discourteous person.
Yeah, but
Are you
he
saying
had
that I
enough.
should just know Ralph is discourteous and learn to live with it?
No, I'm not saying
Oh.
learn to live. I say, Ralph, that was my seat. Don't move my coat. End of story.
Well, that's the way it started. But then Ralph immediately
Ralph
came back
wised
with
ass
attitude.
back to him.
No, he yells at Ralph. Ralph yells,
Yeah.
feels defensive, and starts yelling back.
But
That's
evidently,
what happened.
but Ralph has had similar problems, right, Ralph?
Thank you, Robin.
Have you had similar problems?
But
Bonziger,
wait,
did you have problems with
Gary,
Ralph? You and
Gary,
Ralph
are
get
you-
along?
Gary,
Ralph-
are you now going to give me a lesson in manners? You're somebody. I
No,
had
it's
to
too
have
late.
a-
Your mother missed the boat on that 20 years ago. I
But
can't help
that's
you.
what I'm saying.
I
Don't
can't help.
try to
I can't
teach
teach
it.
you to be
Gary,
mannered now.
You are a person. You are a person that I had to have a talk with about a year ago because I was doing all these things for the show, and you would never once said thank you to me. Never once.
What
I was
things
helping
for the
you
show?
out with things. And you never once said thank
Ralph,
you.
let me
You
ask you a
don't think
question.
that discourages
How
you?
many things have I helped you with? How many things have I helped
And
you
do
with?
I always say thank you?
Let's talk about the guy.
I always say
Hold
please
on.
and thank
Let's
you?
talk about the guy who I got front row tickets to see Kiss to. You know, Howard said it was okay to do it. Get you front row
Howard
tickets to
got
Kiss
me
to.
tickets.
No, I got those for you, buddy. I went. Howard said, if you need to get Ralph tickets, get them. I'm the one who called in a huge favor. I'm the one who got you in the front row.
Okay.
And you walk in the door, and I said, "How was the concert?" And your response to me was, "It's really a concert that needs to be seen from farther back to get the full effect." Did that not happen, Ralph?
Gary, I don't.
That's what happened.
See, Gary, I don't even know you perceived it like that because I said thank you and I said I didn't say.
All
I
right,
said
look,
it was a
look,
great
look,
Thank you
concert.
appeared to be an
Look,
afterthought, and I always thank you, Ralph. Anything you ask for, I try to get you. Here's another problem with Ralph.
Yeah.
When Ralph wanted those Kiss tickets,
Right.
This is a typical Ralph move. Listen, he wanted tickets to go see Stone Temple Pilots or some concert.
Go ahead. Yeah, help me understand.
I told him to go see Peggy. He went to see Peggy, and he felt it got blown off.
Okay.
But everybody comes to me for tickets,
Right.
And I can't get people tickets for every show,
Right.
every time.
Right. This ain't your job.
But Ralph comes to me, and it's just this funny attitude that he has. He says, "Listen, Kiss is my favorite band. I really want to see them. I want tickets, and I don't want crummy seats. If I can't have good seats, I don't want to go."
I didn't say
You certainly
Gary,
did.
You interpret, and you do that with everybody.
So why did you bother getting
put
him seats then?
You put a spin on it.
Because
All
I still, deep down inside, I think there's a nice guy hiding in there, and I wanted to help him. I knew that he loved Kiss.
Right.
I knew that meant a lot to him.
Right. You
Yeah,
thought
and
maybe.
I thought I could pull it
appreciated
off.
And I said thank you. And Gary, you do. You got me like that really cool.
You see, but
Spider-Man
you see what he's
poster.
saying?
I mean,
Ralph, you see what he's saying though?
what?
Attitude. Why you ask for stuff?
Hey.
Maybe
Did
he's
you-
being
Ralph,
rubbed
did
wrong.
you-
Well, maybe there's something there.
Did you say that you wanted really good seats, and
Yes,
that if
I
you
did.
couldn't get good seats, you didn't want them?
And what I said to you, Gary, was that I said when you ask Howard for these, tell him that I'm not constantly asking for tickets and getting them. I haven't.
Right.
Last few times I asked for tickets, I didn't get them.
Right.
So I'd really, and I asked you like 2 months in advance.
Right.
If there's anything you could do, can you just make sure that I get, can you make some kind of extra effort to make sure that I get good seats?
And then the kicker was, and if I don't get good seats, I'd rather not go.
I didn't say that.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Maybe I
You said
did
if I
because
don't
you know
get good
what?
seats, it's not worth it to me.
You know what?
Well, you
Yeah,
guys have a.
I probably did say that, Gary, because if I don't have good seats, what am I going to do? Get binoculars and watch the show?
What's the store treatment?
What?
He wants the store treatment.
No, Gary. I just said if he can get me good seats, get him. If not, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? That's
What were all the great things
that
that-
I have an attitude and want the Stern treatment?
What were all the great things that you did for me that I didn't thank you for? I think I thank you every time you do something to help me. I know that you helped me do a design for my very short-lived T-shirt, which I thanked you for, even though you misplaced
thanked
it
me,
for
but
8 months.
You didn't pay me for the colors.
It's $19
$40 for all those color copies. I had to
$19
make.
of color copies. I'd be more than happy to pay you back. I can't think of how many things I give you, how many things that I give to you that come in through here, or how I'm going to look at for things that you like, and I help you out.
But then it always falls apart. It's like this strained relationship. I always feel like I got to walk on eggs with you.
No, you just have
listen,
to learn.
I have to end this.
Hey, Ralph, just explain one more thing to me. The day that we came in and we had that fight about, that stuff being returned to Barney's, and you said you couldn't return it because they opened at 10 and you had work to do?
Right.
You were here till noon that day. Doing nothing but walking around checking out the hot new interns.
No, I know I wasn't.
What were you doing?
That's what
Gary,
he had to do.
No, but what were you?
He had to do that.
Forget
Gary, you don't know what that's
forget
very
the intern comment. Forget the intern comment. What were you doing that day?
I was checking out the interns from 8 to 10.
Right. And what were you doing from 10 on? That you couldn't run a block and a half away to return something that's your job to do.
No, Gary, I didn't. I left at 10.
You absolutely did not. Kathy and I
Why
both.
are you telling
Kathy
me
and
what
I
my
both
job
made.
is?
Kathy and I both
Gary,
noticed that you were
Gary.
here in way more time than you needed to just be able to run over to Barney's, drop something off, and be back.
Gary, you don't know what I was doing. Why are you sitting there telling me what?
You weren't on a phone. You weren't sitting at a desk writing, and you didn't appear to be thinking very hard. That to me says that you're
Why
walking
are you
around chatting with
monitoring
people.
what I do?
Because you're affecting what I do in my office and how I run my people. That's
How?
why. By taking somebody out of my office who could be answering the
used
phone
an intern.
or working on an article or
Howard.
doing something and sending them out because you're just too goddamn lazy to do it.
No, it has nothing to do with me being lazy. See, you make that determination in your mind, and all of a sudden.
But then
you set
explain
up
to me,
with that.
explain to me what you were doing that day that kept you from going over there.
I was busy with stuff.
But tell me what I got you.
I had to get out to Howard's that day, actually.
Right, but you didn't get out there till much later. The time was there, Ralph.
No, I left at 10. I left the station at 10.
He didn't. Howard, he just didn't.
I did. And you know what, Gary? Even if I didn't, if I had other stuff to do.
What's the matter, Jackie?
Just what you keep saying. I definitely didn't. And even if I did,
Right.
I didn't do that.
Listen,
Even if I
Fran Drescher is here.
Well,
I'm very interested in speaking with her.
yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, why aren't you
She
here
is
today,
hot.
Ralph? You would love to come in when only the good-looking guests are here.
What's wrong with her?
Why? What's in
No,
Fran Drescher?
in other words, Fran's good-looking.
Oh, I see.
Why is it? No, Fran's good-looking. Why isn't Ralph here today? He likes to meet the big stars.
Because I didn't want to see you.
For a year and a half, Ralph had to put makeup on us every day, and it was like his whole reason for living.
Right.
He was like Picasso with the makeup.
Right.
He hasn't been here in a year.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter.
Now listen to me, stupid. I told you to listen to me.
There's a psychologist on the phone. I'd love to hear what he has to say,
Wait
but,
a second.
but
Wait
I've
a
got
second.
Fran
Wait
here.
a second.
Yeah.
Wait. I want to explain this situation the other day. If I went to Kathy and I asked Kathy, I said, I have something that needs to be returned to Barney's. Is there anybody who can do it? And she said, sure, no problem. I'd love to get some of these people out of here or something like that. It was no problem.
You want to hear from a psychologist?
It was no problem to
Let
Kathy.
him talk about this
It's
relationship.
a problem to me.
Is this
Yeah,
Derek?
but Gary, I don't know that.
Yeah. Let's hear what this guy has to say. Maybe there'll be some resolve.
And anytime I don't
Ralph,
Shut up. We got to get to
be
Fran.
quiet.
lazy,
I got to get to Fran Drescher. So,
Gary, let me ask you a question. If you need something run down the hall or typed up, do you do it yourself or do you ask somebody else to do it?
Ralph, this is my office, not your office.
Ralph, be quiet.
But
Ralph, you're digging a ditch. You're digging a ditch for yourself. It's Gary's office. He uses these interns.
It's like me going to your house and saying, I need my house cleaned.
Get
your maid
own
over.
staff,
Yeah.
Ralph, if that's what you want
Get
to
your
do.
own staff. Get an
I didn't tell
intern.
an intern to do it.
What does the
Even if I
psychiatrist have to
did.
say?
Psychologist.
May I speak?
Even
Yes.
if I did.
Go ahead, Derek.
Howard, I used to do exit counseling for cults,
Yes. Go ahead.
and this is a classic example of a minor sociopath who is do anything for your love, affection, and recognition.
Okay, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about Ralph.
Oh, okay.
Gary, you're a normal, decent human being. You are never going to make any headway with Ralph.
Oh, you are an idiot.
What do you mean by a psychopath?
I
Who
am
is
not
this?
an idiot.
Sociopath.
Who is this, Dr. Seuss?
No, you can link this whole thing to Howard as a guru and all the interns, all Ralph, John, Gary, Fred, Jackie, not Robin. Robin's special, but all of these people are the inner circle of this cult, and it's the Howard Stern cult. And Howard, you play him like a violin. It's beautiful. It's the best entertainment of the 20th century.
All right, let me say something here, Ralph. Disregarding even for a minute what the this brilliant psychologist has said, and he's right on the money.
Dr. Seuss.
Do you feel? And I'm going to ask you a question because I got to get to Fran
I have
Drescher.
to ask you a question.
Do you feel
Do you
That the United
that
States.
you are?
The
Do you
United
feel? You want to joke or you want to? Because you got a personality problem, pal.
The lack of it.
Do you feel
No, he's got too much of a personality.
that you have a higher elevated position? If you were to put a map of the organization of this show,
The echelon.
do you feel you really have to answer to Gary?
Do I feel I have to answer to Gary? In what respect?
Okay, I'll give you an I'll give you a question. Gary comes to you and says,
That's your answer.
I don't want you in the air studio unless you ask me first. And then a day later, you walk into the studio disregarding everything Gary just said. Do you feel that he is in any way...
That is not right to do.
It's not right. Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay.
So then... I apologize for it.
Okay.
And I don't do that anymore.
Well, you're not here often enough, but you apologize for it. You did it several times, not just once.
Okay. So you would say that really you have no respect for Gary. True?
No.
Be honest. You don't have that much respect for him.
He's got minimal respect for me.
You know, I really think that where Ralph has the problem is he doesn't think Gary understands him. So he has to go over Gary's
And it's
head.
not Gary's job to understand Ralph.
No, it's not his job to understand. But that's what motivates Ralph. It's not that he doesn't respect Gary. If Gary understood him, he would listen. But he feels he couldn't possibly make Gary
but he
understand.
doesn't make the right decisions. So.
Now, isn't it true?
Not for Ralph.
Don't you think sometimes in dealing with, let's say, the E! Show, or I'm starting to understand what might be the problem, or any of these people, they don't seem to understand you?
Right.
Do you find that? Do you find that, let's say, publicists don't seem to understand you? Scott Einziger doesn't seem to understand how important you are. Do you start to feel that various
They don't
people...
get that he knows something they don't.
Right. Do you ever feel like they don't get it?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Now, here's what we got to do. I think I've solved your problem. You have to now assume that they get it. That's it. There's your answer to your problem.
Howard, there's
How do you feel? Do you feel better?
part of it too.
What is that, Derek?
Give Ralph a title.
You have hit on it exactly.
Yes. Gary is the producer. He has more public profile.
Thank you, Derek. Ralph, I'm going to give you a title right now.
This should be good.
All right? You are my douchebag. No, you are going to be called... You are my valet. How was that?
That's no. Thank you. No,
You don't want to be that?
Valet.
I'm going to come up with the title for you. Derek is absolutely right, okay?
Yes.
He needs a position.
You'll be above Gorillo, below Gary. Okay?
Yes.
You're going to have a position.
Howard, I'm just going to say one thing in closing.
Thank
Well, you know
With all
what
the-
part of
hold
the-
up.
wait,
I got to get to Fran Drescher.
Because there's another part of this puzzle.
All the jokes aside, because I'm going to go back to the office.
Go ahead.
All the jokes aside, I'm a lot more calm now. Let's just do it here on the air so we get out of the way forever. We're never going to get along. We're never going to like each other. We admit that. Let's just be civil to each other when we see each other. I don't want to have some uncomfortable thing when you come in again where we go in a room and talk.
Handle yourself
Gary,
professionally.
No, but Ralph, we're just going to say we'll just
see,
be
that's it, Gary. That's what.
Gary, you don't want any discussion.
That's what hurt me and upset you.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
Is that I've always liked you. I never.
And I like you.
All right,
but
no side... Agreed, no side discussions. No...
You agreed not to get along.
whatever you need from me, you call me and you let me know. If you need something for Howard, call me and you let me know. But we'll just leave it at that.
Good. Ralph, fair enough?
Fine.
The other part of this problem, though, is that he does have such direct access to you.
Yes.
He has the hotline to Howard, so he can ignore anything else that's going
It's
on.
not that he can ignore it; it just confuses Ralph.
All right, so what are you saying?
Because he does have this direct access to Howard at some points. You know, he works directly
Yes,
with
he
Howard.
has to have that.
And
Right
for
on the money,
Howard.
Robin.
And then at another time, he's supposed to go through Gary.
So there's conflict.
Yeah.
I see. Can you, Ralph? Can you figure out how to handle Gary? In other words, how to be diplomatic? What is it, John?
Well,
I've got to go to Fran Drescher.
I know you do.
I've got to end
she
this.
looks great.
Yeah,
But Ronnie just called. He can't talk now because he's got people in his car.
Right.
But he does want to add to this because he has plenty of stories of Ralph.
Okay. Well, all right. So here is the deal.
Robin was making a valid point there.
All right. Whatever. Listen, I got to stop with all the valid points. I got to stop. Only because if Fran Drescher wasn't here, I would
We
go.
could go on forever.
This would be a 4-hour show. I would be fascinated.
This is better than Jackie and Ronnie.
Right. This is fantastic. I'm going to put this one. I'm going to
On
stop
hold.
this. I'm going to put this on hold.
Yeah, it's not going to go away, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to get any less angry in an hour.
Right. And what I'm going to do is, what I'm going to say is this. You two should not even talk about this privately.
Ever. No.
Well, you know,
because
Howard,
you've already, it's boring.
Howard,
Yeah.
Kathy's in the back, and she said Gary and Ralph have both been, talking to her about it, both saying how they were going to beat each other up about this.
Right. I've heard it
No, we
too.
both were so angry.
All right.
We both wanted to
Tape all conversations. All right. Thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Gary.